All right, smile. DHS wants to take your picture. They are proposing that every time you leave or enter the U.S., that they be able to do a facial recognition scan for their files. They claim it's for the purposes of catching people who overstay their visas and, of course, the usual terrorist hunt. But this wouldn't apply to just foreign nationals. It's applicable to all people who are not only coming into the U.S., but also those leaving the country, including American citizens. So joining us to expand on this topic, let's talk with investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, this is a proposal so far. Break it all down for us. When are they looking to get all this accomplished?
Yeah, it's a proposal, but it's pretty far down the road. At this point, DHS says that they are pretty deep into the process. They're going to allow a period of public comment, but they're very close to instituting this. And essentially what it would do, exactly what you described, is it would use facial recognition to capture photographs and scan images of every single passenger's face who's on an international flight, who's going through a U.S. airport. And that means whether you're a U.S. citizen or not. Now, what's interesting about this is back in the early part of this year, March and April, DHS had floated the idea of doing this not just for international travelers, but for every single air traveler in the country, to scan faces at airports, catalog, keep, and then to use the biometric data from that to verify passengers. They backed off it because they were getting a lot of heat from that. And so now it seems that they've retreated to this position of saying, well, we're going to do this now with all international travelers, whether U.S. or not.
So, Ben, why the broadness of their approach? Why even scan American citizens if they say the intent is to catch visa overstayers?
Right, because they're saying something that is fairly popular within the administration right now. We're going to catch visa overstayers and we're going to stop potential terrorists. Sounds like good reasoning. Except the problem is you're scanning every single face, including U.S. citizens, which means that what you're actually doing is not what you say you're doing. And so what DHS is doing is they're playing the game that everyone plays in politics, claiming they're doing one thing, and they're actually doing an entirely different thing.
So, Ben, the government has a lot of irons in the fire, right? We know they yes. got, a lot going on. So sometimes I would say data security isn't really their forte. So who's to say that, right. our faces, our personal information will be safe in their possession, especially at the airport?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. Number one, do we believe that the data is safe to begin with? Number one, I don't think most people would be able to accept that it would be. And absolutely no data is 100% safe, no matter who holds it. Number two, does the technology even work? We've talked about this a number of times on your show, Manila, but the reality is that biometric scanning does not work based on a person's skin pigmentation and the lightness of their skin. The lighter the skin, cameras have to be calibrated a certain way. The darker the skin, calibrated a different way. And there are no cameras or technologies right now that accurately scan both at the same time. Yeah. And so one group, either light skin or dark skin, is going to be affected. And lastly, and this is important too, take all of the tech side out of it. Let's just go back to the issue of civil rights. Do you have a fundamental constitutional and civil right to travel in this country? And that really becomes the question, because what the ACLU has been arguing is that the attempt to use biometrics by DHS essentially limits people in their ability to travel without being searched, and that is unconstitutional.
And now, Ben, I would say only second to the DMV, you find the most angry people at the airport waiting to go through TSA. So let me ask you this. Could this lead to a slippery slope, especially as it pertains to already how intrusive and the invasiveness of air travel as it is?
I think it does to some extent. Now, for most travelers, this will be less intrusive to them than having to be patted down or go through those scanners with your hands over your head. It's actually a little bit less intrusive because it's just capturing your photograph, your image, your face as you walk through. In fact, I just took an international flight this past weekend and came back home to Atlanta. And when I came through the airport, they actually had me take a photograph of my face and match it to my passport. They did that here in Atlanta. Is that data being cataloged as a part of a biometric system? Doesn't seem to be right now, but it is fairly unintrusive. But again, the question becomes, do I have a right to opt out of that situation? And here's the thing, Manila. If it is instituted internationally for international travelers, whether it be foreign travelers or domestic U.S. travelers, it will ultimately be instituted in all airports across the country because that is DHS's expressed long-term goal.
Yeah, say goodbye to anonymity. We'll leave it right there. Ben Swan, as always, appreciate your take. Thank you.
Manila, thanks.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.